Hi, so today I'm going to be talking to you guys about suicide in the transgender community. So, as of 2015, a whopping 41% of the transgender community report having attempted suicide at one point in their life. That being said, it's pretty obvious that this group of people is a much higher risk of suicide or a suicide attempt. This topic of transgender suicide may relate to you guys or anyone listening because you may know of someone or might even be dealing with some of the same issues yourself. The transgender community experiences more discrimination and victimization than the average person, which in almost half the cases results in suicide or suicide attempt. So to begin, just so that we're all on the same page, I'd like to give you the true definition of transgender and the often confused term transsexual. So what is trans? Transgender is an umbrella term that is used to describe any person that has a different gender identity or gender expression than the one that they were born with. And a transsexual is someone who emotionally or psychologically feels that they identify with the opposite sex and would like to eventually have gender reassignment surgery. So a transgender female was genetically born a male but feels they identify with the opposite sex, and vice versa for a transgender male. So now that we're on the same page, let's talk numbers. I'm going to give you a few statistics and records just to show the severity of the issue. So more than one anti-transgender murder is reported per month here in the U.S. 74% of the transgender youth report having been sexually harassed at school due to their gender identity or gender expression. And transgender people are also more likely to experience law enforcement violence. Eventually, some individuals decide that suicide is a better option than waiting around to become another statistic to a hate crime. Leila Alcorn and Skylar Lee were two young people who shared this same outlook on life. Leila Alcorn, born as Joshua Ryan, grew up in a very conservative Christian household. She came out to her parents as transgender at the age of 14, and they refused her. She was sent to Christian therapy. They confiscated all of her electronics so she couldn't reach out to her friends who accepted her as transgender or anyone else in the transgender community that could give her more information or support or anything like that. She unfortunately committed suicide by vehicular impact. The other individual, Skylar Lee, was a prolific and widely respected activist for the transgender community, also a teenager. He took his own life on September 28th of last year due to feelings of loneliness, never being able to truly be accepted as he was. The last thing I would like to talk to you guys about is the psychological and emotional wear and tear that these individuals go through just being who they are. Just think about, like, when's the last time you spoke to a family member or even a close friend? For me, I would say it was very recently because, and I only say this because support, love, and regular conversation from our family and friends is very important in our lives. And being transgender and transitioning, this has a big impact on it because a lot of these individuals do not have the support from their family or their friends. So if they lose contact, or in other words, are refused contact because of embarrassment or religious beliefs or anything like that, their family and friends really hold true to themselves and kind of pushes them away. I had the privilege of working with a wonderful transgender woman in the past year. Unfortunately, she felt like she did not have the love and support from her family and friends here in Florida, so she decided to move to California with her brother, where she felt like she could find a community that would really just take her in and give her the support and everything that she needed to feel loved. Aside from support, mental health is a major factor in suicide and suicide attempts in the transgender community. Isolation, hiding secrets from family and friends, suppressing true feelings even from a young age, these can all cause anxiety and depression. Puberty is also a very trying time for the transgender community, being that there are certain medications that can delay puberty or the symptoms of puberty, but you cannot access them if you're under 18 without the consent of your parent or guardian, and a lot of these individuals, like I said, do not have the support that they need. So things like breast development, facial hair growing, or the deepening of a voice for a young man, these all become very disgusting thoughts for the transgender youth. This is also known as gender dysphoria, which can be defined as an unease or dissatisfaction with the gender that is assigned at birth. This psychological state can cause depression, anxiety, restlessness, and a lot of other symptoms related to mental health. Oftentimes, these thoughts of gender dysphoria, anxiety, depression, no support and love from family and friends, it becomes too much for some of the individuals, and they decide that they don't want to be here, and that leads to the suicide result because they don't want to deal with these things. In closing, I hope that this information that I gave you, being the definition of transgender, the records and statistics of suicides in the transgender community, and the emotional and psychological aspect to being transgender and being part of this community, I hope that it really gave you some new insight, and if you could even spread the word to just form some type of understanding for what these individuals go through, or just some knowledge, really. Like I said, the transgender community experiences more discrimination and victimization than the average person, which in almost half the cases leads to suicide or suicide attempt. So if anybody can get their hands on this information, I'm sure it will help spread the word about the struggles that they go through, or just their everyday life. And it's a better understanding of the transgender community. Thank you.